Have you ever looked at the world and felt like something is deeply, terribly wrong? Like we're racing towards something we can't quite see, but we know in our spirits it's not good. Technology is advancing faster than ever. AI is making decisions. Machines are replacing hearts, and the people leading this charge, the Elon Musks of the world, they're being celebrated as saviors, as visionaries. But what if I told you that heaven is watching? And what God showed me about what's happening right now, it shook me to my core. This isn't about conspiracy theories. This isn't about fear-mongering. This is about a revelation that made me weep. Because God is furious, not at people, but at what's being done to his creation. And if you have ears to hear, you'll understand why this matters more than anything you'll watch today. Stay with me for the next 30 minutes, because what I'm about to share will change how you see everything happening now. I want you to think about your daily life for a moment. How many times today did you talk to a machine instead of a person? How many conversations did you have with a screen instead of a soul? When you needed help, did you call a friend or did you ask I? When you felt lonely, did you reach out to someone who could hug you? Or did you scroll through an endless feed of strangers' lives, hoping to feel something, anything? Let me paint you a picture of what I observed just last week. I was sitting in a coffee shop, and I counted. Out of 23 people in that shop, 21 were staring at their phones, not talking, not reading a book, not looking out the window, just scrolling, endlessly scrolling. Their faces were blank. Their eyes were glazed. And I thought to myself, these are bodies without souls present. We're living in a world where technology is everywhere. And I'm not saying technology is evil. I want to be very clear about this because I know some people will misunderstand. I'm not one of those people who says we need to go back to living in caves, burning candles, and using carrier pigeons. Technology can be a gift. It can connect us across continents. It can heal diseases we couldn't touch a generation ago. It can make life better in measurable, meaningful ways. But here's the question that God pressed into my heart one night when I couldn't sleep. A question that's been haunting me ever since. At what point does the tool become the master? At what point do we stop using technology and technology starts using us? Think about it like this. When you invented the hammer served you. You picked it up when you needed it, you used it for a specific purpose, and then you put it down. The hammer didn't follow you around. It didn't demand your attention. It didn't interrupt your dinner or wake you up in the middle of the night. But your phone is always with you. Always calling for your attention. Always pulling you away from the present moment. And here's what's disturbing anymore. It's become so normalized that we think it's normal. We think it's just how life is now. But it's not. This is a choice we've made, collectively, as a society. And we're only beginning to see the consequences. See, we were supposed to use technology, but somewhere along the way, technology started using us. Our phones know us better than our spouses do. They know what we like, what we fear, what we want, what makes us angry, what makes us click. Algorithms decide what we see, what we think, what we believe, what we want. We don't even realize we're being shaped, molded, programmed like software receiving updates. And the people designing these systems, the engineers at Google and Meta and Tesla, they're not asking, is this good for humanity? Is this making people more human or less human? Is this bringing people closer to each other and to God, or is it isolating them? They're asking different questions. They're asking, how do we maximize engagement? How do we keep people on the platform longer? How do we extract more data? How far can we go? Let me tell you something I learned about how social media algorithms work. They're designed to find your emotional triggers. They test thousands of variations of content on you, every single day to see what makes you react, what makes you angry enough to comment, what makes you scared enough to share, what makes you envious enough to keep scrolling. It's not accidental, it's engineered. And that brings me to someone you've probably heard of, someone whose name has become almost synonymous with the future, Elon Musk. Now, before you think this is an attack on one man, hear me out. This isn't personal. This isn't about Elon as a person. I don't know his heart. Only God does. I don't know his intentions. I'm not judging his soul. But what I do know is this, the vision he represents, the world he's actively working to build. It's a world that should concern every person of faith. It should concern every person who values what it means to be human. Think about what Elon Musk is building right now, today, not in some distant future. Neuralink, a company that's developing brain chips, direct interfaces between human brains and computers. the stated goal, to allow humans to keep up with AI, to merge with the machines so we don't become obsolete. He's literally said this. He said that humans need to become cyborgs or we'll be left behind. Tesla and AI, self-driving cars where hand over control to algorithms, where the machine decides when to brake, when to turn, when to accelerate, and we're told to trust it more than we trust ourselves. SpaceX and Mars colonization. The idea that we should abandon Earth, the planet God gave us, and become a multiplanetary species, not to visit but to escape, to leave behind what we've broken instead of healing it. And Grok, his AI system that he wants to be the maximally truth-seeking AI. But who defines truth? Who programs the parameters? And what happens when that AI becomes smarter than the people who created it? When you listen to him talk about the future. And I've watched hours and hours of his interviews trying to understand his worldview. There's this underlying message that runs through everything. Humans, as we are, aren't enough. We're too slow, too weak, too biological. We need to be upgraded. We need to evolve. We need to transcend our humanity and become something else. Something post-human, something transhuman. And the world is applauding. They're calling him a genius, a pioneer, the real-life Tony Stark. Magazines put him on the cover. People hang on his every tweet. Young people look up to him as the man who's going to save humanity from itself. But heaven is watching with a very different perspective. And what God showed me about all of this, it's something I can't stay silent about. Let me take you back to the night this all became clear to me. It was about 3 months ago. I couldn't sleep. You know those nights where your mind just won't quiet down, where you're tossing and turning and the darkness feels heavy. I wasn't even thinking about technology or Elon Musk or any of this. I was praying about something else entirely, about the state of the world, about the division I see everywhere, about the confusion, the chaos, the sense that everything is unraveling. And as I sat there in the silence of my room, around 200 or 300 in the morning, I felt the presence of Jesus so strongly it was almost overwhelming. It wasn't audible. I want to be clear about that, because I'm not one of those people who claims to hear voices. But it was unmistakable. A presence. A knowing, a communication that goes deeper than words. And I heard not with my ears but with my spirit these words. They're trying to replace me. At first, I didn't understand. Replace him? Replace Jesus? How? What does that even mean? And then it started to unfold, like a curtain being pulled back, like scales falling from my eyes, and I began to see what he was showing me. Humanity has always had a God-shaped hole. This isn't new theology. This is ancient truth. We've always been searching for something greater than ourselves. Something to give us meaning, purpose, hope, direction. Something to worship, whether we call it that or not. And for thousands of years, people filled that hole with faith, with God, with the divine, with the transcendent. But something's changed. In the last 20, 30, 40 years, something fundamental has shifted, and it's accelerating. Now we're being told explicitly and implicitly, you don't need God. You don't need faith. Technology will save you. AI will guide you better than any ancient text. Science will transcend death. Medicine will eliminate suffering. You can upload your consciousness and live forever. You can become your own God. This is the new religion, and it has its prophets. Elon Musk is one of them. Ray Kurzweil at Google is another. Yuval Noah Harari, the historian and philosopher. These are the new high priests of the technological age, and millions of people are believing them. They're putting their hope not in the creator of the universe, but in the creations of Silicon Valley. They're worshiping at the altar of innovation. They're putting their faith in billionaires and tech giants, instead of in the one who spoke the stars into existence. And God, he's watching this. And he's not indifferent. He's furious. But let me be very clear about something because this is important. God's fury isn't like human anger. It's not petty or vindictive or temperamental. It's not ego. It's not about being offended that people aren't paying attention to him. God doesn't have an ego problem. He doesn't need our validation. His fury is something different. It's the fury of a father watching his children walk toward a cliff, and they won't listen. It's the fury of a creator watching his masterpiece being dismantled and reassembled into something cold and lifeless. It's the fury of love that knows what's at stake. It's the fury of someone who sees the end of the story and is desperately trying to warn people before it's too late. Think about this. If you saw your child about to touch a hot stove, you wouldn't calmly say, "Oh, sweetie, I'd prefer if you didn't do that." You'd shout. You'd grab their hand. You'd do whatever it took to stop them because you love them and you know what's coming. That's the fury we're talking about. It's protective. It's urgent. It's love in its most intense form. Here's the truth, and this is hard to hear, but it's important. When we try to become more than human, we become less than human. Let me explain what I mean by that. God created us in His image. Genesis 1:27, this is foundational. We're made in the image of God, not in the image of machines, not in the image of algorithms, not in the image of efficiency or productivity or optimization. In the image of love, of relationship, of breath, of spirit. We were made to feel deeply, even when it hurts. We were made to connect, imperfectly, messily, with other souls. We were made to create, not with perfect precision, but with our hands and our hearts and our imaginations. We were made to love, not efficiently, but extravagantly, wastefully even. We were made to stumble, to fail to learn, to grow through pain and through joy. That's what makes us human. That's what makes us beautiful. That's what makes us image bearers of the divine. But this new vision, this transhumanist dream, it wants to remove all of that. It sees all of those things as bugs to be fixed, not features to be celebrated. Pain, that's inefficient. Upload your consciousness to the cloud where you can't feel pain. Weakness, that's a limitation. Merge with AI so you're always strong, always capable. Mistakes, that's human error. Let the algorithm decide so you never mess up again. Death, that's the ultimate bug. Let's hack biology and live forever. And on the surface, I'll admit it, it sounds amazing. Who wouldn't want to transcend suffering? Who wouldn't want to be smarter, stronger, better? Who wouldn't want to live forever? But here's what they're not telling you. Here's what they can't see because they don't understand the spiritual dimension of reality. When you remove the pain, you remove the growth. Think about every meaningful moment of growth in your life. It came through struggle, didn't it? It came through failure, through loss, through seasons that broke you but then rebuilt you stronger. Pain is the refiner's fire. It's how character is forged. It's how we learn compassion. It's how we learn to depend on God. When you remove the weakness, you remove the dependence on God and on community. Our weakness is actually a gift because it forces us to reach out. It forces us to say, I need help. I can't do this alone. And in that reaching out, that's where relationship happens. That's where we experience grace. That's where we learn what love actually is. When you remove the limits, you remove the soul. Because a soul isn't something you can program. A soul isn't something you can code in Python or C++. A soul is the breath of God living inside you. It's the image of God imprinted on your being. And the moment you try to replace that with circuits and data, and artificial intelligence, you've crossed a line. You've stopped being what God made you to be. Let me give you a concrete example. Elon Musk talks about Neuralink allowing people to communicate telepathically through brain-to-brain interfaces. No more need for language. No more misunderstandings. Just direct thought transfer. Sounds incredible, right? But think about what you lose. Language is poetry. Language is metaphor. Language is the struggle to express the inexpressible. When you talk to someone you love, it's not just about transferring information. It's about the tone of voice, the pause before they answer, the way they search for the right word. The imperfection of human communication is what makes it human. It's what makes it intimate. Direct thought transfer would be efficient. But it wouldn't be human. It would be machine-like. And slowly, person by person, chip by chip, we'd become more machine and less human. Until one day we'd look in the mirror and not recognize ourselves. This brings me to something that absolutely wrecked me. A vision that Jesus gave me that I haven't shared publicly. Until now because I wasn't sure how people would receive it. But I believe it's time. After that night when I heard, they're trying to replace me, I started praying more intentionally about all of this. I started asking God to show me what He sees when He looks at what's happening on earth right now. And about a week later, during a time of deep prayer and fasting, I saw something. A vision. Not with my physical eyes, but with my spiritual eyes. The eyes of my heart, as Scripture says. In this vision I saw the earth, and it was full of people, billions of people. But something was wrong. They weren't fully people anymore. They were connected, wired, linked to this vast network. Like a hive mind. And they were efficient. Incredibly efficient. They were productive beyond anything we can imagine now. They were solving problems, building things. That they were silent. There was no laughter. No tears. No worship. No arguments even. Because arguments require passion and disagreement and the messy work of finding common ground. This was just uniform, synchronized. Perfect. And I looked closer. And I could see that each person had this subtle glow at the base of their skull. a neural implant. And through that implant, they were all connected to a central intelligence. An AI so advanced that it made all the decisions, and the people they just executed, they were extensions of the machine. And here's what broke me. In that moment, in that vision, I looked for Jesus. I expected to see him weeping or angry or intervening. But instead, he was standing at a distance, outside the network, and he wasn't moving, he wasn't reaching out. He was just standing there, and the look on his face, I'll never forget it. It was grief. Deep, profound. And I asked, Lord, why aren't you doing something? Why aren't you stopping this? And his response, it shattered me. He said, they don't want me anymore. They chose this. They chose efficiency over love. They chose immortality over resurrection. They chose to be gods instead of knowing me. And love, real love, doesn't force, it invites. But when the invitation is rejected, love steps back and allows the choice to play out. I woke up from that vision with tears streaming down my face because I understood. God will never force himself on us. He'll never override our free will. If humanity collectively decides they don't need him, if they choose to worship their own creations instead of the Creator, if they decide they'd rather merge with machines than commune with the divine, he'll let them. Not because he stops loving them, but because love doesn't control. Love gives freedom, even when that freedom leads to destruction. This isn't the first time humanity has tried this. Let me take you back to Genesis 11. The Tower of Babel. You probably know the story. Humanity came together with a common language and a common purpose. And they said, come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves. Notice that phrase. Let us make a name for ourselves. Not, let us honor God, let us worship the Creator, but let us make a name for ourselves. It was about human glory, human achievement, human power reaching up to heaven on their own terms without God. And what did God do? He confused their languages, he scattered them across the earth, and for centuries, people have read that story and thought, why was God so harsh? They were just trying to build something impressive. But that's missing the point entirely. God wasn't threatened by the tower. You can't build a tower high enough to reach God. He wasn't worried about his position being challenged. What God saw was the danger. He saw that when humanity unites in pride, when they try to become gods themselves, it doesn't lead to flourishing. It leads to tyranny. It leads to the erasure of individuality. It leads to the loss of the very thing that makes us human, our dependence on him and on each other, an authentic relationship. And he loved them too much to let them go down that path. So, he interrupted it. He scattered them. He forced diversity. He preserved their humanity by preventing their unity in pride. And now, here we are again. But this time, the tower isn't made of bricks. It's made of code. It's made of neural networks and quantum computers and brain implants. And the language isn't Sumerian or Akkadian. It's binary. It's data. And instead of building up to heaven, we're trying to upload ourselves there. Elon Musk talks about Mars, about making humanity multiplanetary. And on one level, I understand the appeal. Earth has problems. Climate change, wars, resource scarcity, and Mars represents a fresh start, a new frontier. But here's what God whispered to me. And it's something I can't get out of my head. Why are they trying to escape the Earth I gave them instead of healing it? Why are they looking to Mars for salvation instead of looking to me? Why are they trying to preserve humanity by leaving behind everything that makes them human? Because that's what it would take to colonize Mars with current technology. You'd have to live in enclosed habitats, breathe recycled air, never feel rain on your face, never swim in an ocean, never climb a tree. You'd be sustained by technology, dependent on machines for every breath, every drop of water, every calorie. Is that really living? Or is it just surviving? And at what point does survival stop being worth it, if you've lost your soul in the process? Let me talk about something that's not discussed enough in all the excitement about technological advancement. The human cost. Not just the obvious things like job loss and economic disruption, though those are real. I'm talking about the cost to the human soul. There's a loneliness epidemic right now. Studies show that people, especially young people, are lonelier than ever before in human history, despite being more connected than ever before. We have social media where we're linked to hundreds or thousands of people. But we're lonelier. Why? Because connection through a screen isn't the same as connection face to face. It's not the same as a hug. It's not the same as sitting across from someone and seeing the tears in their eyes. It's not the same as praying together in person. Digital connection is a substitute, and like all substitutes, It leaves us feeling unsatisfied. There's an anxiety epidemic. Mental health issues are skyrocketing, particularly among the generation that grew up with smartphones. Depression, anxiety, ADHD, suicide rates, all increasing. And we act like this is just random, like it's just a coincidence. But it's not. When you wire a human brain to a device that's engineered to hijack your attention, there are consequences. There's a meaning crisis. People are asking, what's the point? What's the purpose of my life? More than ever before. Because when your worth is measured in likes and followers and productivity metrics, and you're constantly comparing yourself to carefully curated highlight reels of other people's lives, you lose sight of your inherent value. You forget that you're valuable not because of what you do or achieve, but because you're created in the image of God. And now, we're being told that the solution to all of these problems caused by technology is more technology. More advanced technology. We're being told, the AI that's causing anxiety will be solved by better AI. The loneliness caused by screens will be solved by better screens, virtual reality, the metaverse. The meaning crisis will be solved by uploading your consciousness so you can live forever in a digital paradise. It's insanity. It's like treating an addiction by giving the addict a purer form of the drug. It doesn't solve the problem. It makes it worse. So, what is God saying in the middle of all this chaos? What does He want us to know? Because here's the thing. Even in the middle of His fury, even in the middle of humanity's rebellion, there's still mercy. There's still hope. There's still a way back. And I believe with everything in me that if you're watching this right now, if you've made it this far into this message, it's because God is calling you to be part of the remnant. The ones who see, the ones who resist, the ones who remember what it means to be human. First thing God wants you to know is this. You are not a machine, and you never will be. No matter what technology is developed, no matter how advanced the brain chips become, no matter how sophisticated AI gets, there is something in you that cannot be replicated or replaced. Your soul, the breath of God in you, the image of God on you. That's eternal. That's irreplaceable. That's sacred. And any technology that tries to tamper with that, any ideology that tries to convince you that you need to be upgraded or evolved or transhuman, it's not from God. It's rebellion against God. It's the same lie that was told in the Garden of Eden. You shall be like God. It's the same temptation. And it leads to the same result. Separation from the source of life. Second thing. Your vulnerability is not weakness, it's your greatest strength. In a world that's obsessed with optimization and efficiency and never showing cracks, God is saying, I move in your weakness. I move in your brokenness. Your tears, your struggles, your limitations, those aren't things to be ashamed of. Those are the places where my grace shines brightest. When you're weak, you pray. When you're broken, you seek help. When you're limited, you depend on me and on community. And that's where real life happens. Not in the sterile perfectia of a transhuman future, but in the messy, beautiful, painful, joyful reality of being human as God designed it. Third thing, and this is crucial, you have to choose. Every single day, you're going to face choices about how much you let technology shape you. And I'm not saying throw away your phone. I'm not saying live like it's 1825. But I am saying be intentional. Set boundaries, protect your soul, create space for silence, for prayer, for real human connection. Resist to optimize every moment and instead rest, be present, breathe worship. Because here's what I've learned. The spiritual battle of our time isn't fought with swords or guns. It's fought with attention. Whatever has your attention has your worship. If your attention is constantly on screens, on feeds, on notifications, on the next technological breakthrough, then that's what you're worshiping, whether you realize it or not. But if you can reclaim your attention, if you can direct it back to God, back to the people you love, back to the created world that's all around you, then you win the battle. You preserve your humanity. You preserve your soul. So what do? How do we live in this world without being consumed by it? How do we use technology without being used by it? How do we resist the dehumanizing forces of our age without becoming irrelevant or disconnected? Let me give you some practical steps, things you can start doing today. First, create tech-free zones in your life. Maybe it's the first hour of your morning. Maybe it's during meals. Maybe it's your bedroom at night. Create spaces where technology doesn't rule, where you can be fully present with God and with the people you love. Second, fast from technology regularly. Pick one day a week or one weekend a month and unplug completely. No phone, no computer, no TV, and see what happens. See how your mind quiets. See how your spirit awakens. See how you start noticing things you've been missing. Third, invest in face-to-face relationships. Make it a priority to see people in person, not just text them or video call them. Have real conversations. Make eye contact. Touch. Be physically present. Because that's how we're wired. That's how we're designed to connect. Fourth, spend time in nature. Get outside. Feel the sun on your face. Touch the earth. Listen to birds. Watch the sunset. Because creation speaks of the Creator. And when you're disconnected from creation, you're disconnected from a primary way that God reveals Himself. Fifth, pray. Not just quick prayers before meals, but deep, extended times of prayer. Times where you pour out your heart to God. Times where you listen. Times where you just sit in His presence without saying anything at all. Because prayer is the antidote to the lies of our age. Prayer reminds you who you are and whose you are. 6. Read Scripture. Not on your phone where you're one swipe away from distractions, but a physical Bible. Let the words sink deep. Let them challenge the narratives of our culture. Let them realign your mind with truth. 7th, be vocal about your values. When people talk about merging with machines, when they celebrate transhumanism, when they act like technology is going to save us, speak up. Gently, lovingly, but firmly. Say, I don't think that's the future I want. I think there's something sacred about being human as God made us. You might be surprised how many people secretly agree, but are afraid to say it. And finally, pray for the Elon Musks of the world. Pray for the tech leaders, the innovators, the scientists. Don't hate them. Don't demonize them. They're human beings created in God's image just like you. But pray that they would encounter the living God. Pray that they would see beyond the technology to the spiritual reality. Pray that they would use their gifts for God's glory, rather than for human pride. Let me bring this home, because I know I've covered a lot of ground in the last 40 minutes. Here's what it all comes down to. We're at a crossroads. We're at a moment in history that will determine the direction of humanity for generations to come. And the choice isn't complicated. It's actually very simple. Do we trust God or do we trust technology? Do we believe that we're fearfully and wonderfully made? Or do we believe that we need to be upgraded? Do we find our hope in the Creator, or in the creations of Silicon Valley? Do we embrace our humanity with all its limitations and beauty? Or do we try to transcend it and become something else? God is furious, yes. But not because He's petty or territorial, because He loves us. And love gets furious when the beloved is in danger. Love gets furious when someone you cherish is being deceived, manipulated, led astray. That's the fury of heaven right now. It's not condemnation. It's desperation. And Jesus, He's standing at the door knocking. Not with judgment, but with invitation. He's saying, come back. You don't need to upgrade. You don't need to evolve. You don't need to merge with machines. You just need to come home. You're enough. You've always been enough. Let me show you who you really are. So, if you're hearing this, if something in your spirit is stirring right now, that's not an accident. That's the Holy Spirit. That's the breath of God saying, pay attention. This matters. Don't let the noise drown out the truth. You are not a machine. You are not data. You are a soul created in the image of God, loved beyond measure, called to something higher than circuits and code. You're called to love, to worship, to live fully messily, beautifully human. And the world might be racing toward a future without God. But you don't have to go with them. You can stop, you can turn. You can choose a different path. A path that's ancient and eternal. A path that leads not to Mars, or to the metaverse, or to digital immortality, but to the presence of the living God. I want to speak a blessing over you right now. Over your mind. Over your heart, over your soul. I declare that you will not be deceived. I declare that you will see clearly in the midst of confusion. I declare that the noise of the world will not drown out the voice of God in your life. I declare that you will remain human, fully human, beautifully human, as God created you to be. And I declare that no matter how fast the world changes, no matter how much technology advances, no matter what Elon Musk or anyone else builds, you will stay rooted. Rooted in truth. Rooted in faith. Rooted in the unshakable love of a God who will never, ever let you go. God is furious about what's happening on earth. But His fury is the fury of a father who refuses to lose his children. And His invitation is still open. The door is still unlocked. And He's still waiting, arms open, heart ready, saying, come back to what's real. Come back to me. If this message stirred something in you, if you felt the weight of truth in these words, I need to hear from you. Drop a comment below and just type one word, awake. That's your declaration. That's your way of saying, I see it, I understand. and I'm choosing to stay human, to stay connected to God, no matter what the world does. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, someone who's caught up in the hype of technology, someone who's losing themselves in the noise, someone who thinks Elon Musk is going to save humanity, share this with them. Not to scare them, to wake them, because love wakes people up. Truth wakes people up, and right now, we need more people awake than ever before. Don't forget to subscribe if you want more messages like this. Messages that cut through the noise and point you back to what's real, what's true, what's eternal. Because together we're holding the line, we're standing firm, and we're refusing to trade our souls for anything this world offers. God is furious, but God is also faithful. And no matter what happens next, no matter how dark it gets, His light is stronger, His love is deeper, and His plan is unstoppable. Stay human, stay awake, stay close to Him.